Hi, everyone. Levi Thompson. I'm an associate professor in the Department of Middle Eastern Studies at the University of Texas at Austin, and I'm going to speak a little bit today about the Suez Crisis of 1956, which is a major 20th century Cold War, post-World War II event that changes the trajectory of international politics until today. First of all, Suez is a place in what is now Egypt where there is a giant canal that was built in the 19th century during the colonial period by a partnership. It was an unfair partnership, but a partnership between the folks who were ruling Egypt at the time. Those were the descendants of a man named Muhammad Ali, or Mehmet Ali in the Turkish pronunciation, who had come to power in the early 19th century, just after Napoleon's invasion of Egypt, which lasted from 1798 to 1801. So Mehmet Ali's descendants ruled Egypt within the Ottoman Empire as sort of a semi-autonomous zone. They reported to the Ottoman Sultan, but they really operated on their own, and they cut a deal with European colonial powers, including France and Britain, to build this canal connecting the Red Sea to the Mediterranean. It was really an essential infrastructural project for the global economy at the time, and even until today. The Suez Canal is a major artery for goods in the global economy up until now. So they build this canal. It takes about 10 years. It's financed by the French and by the British. They build it from 1859 to 1869 when it finally opens. And it has, since that moment, been a really essential piece of shipping within the world. So it's really very important. When we come into the middle of the 20th century, we're looking at a completely changed political landscape. We no longer have a monarchy ruling Egypt. Egypt gets its independence in what's called the Free Officers' Revolution in 1952. Their independence is technically from the monarchy that had ruled ever since Mehmet Ali and his descendants, but it was really a monarchy that was under the thumb of the British imperial project. There's a uprising. They push the monarchy and the British out in 1952, and then we have the establishment of a republic. The second president of Egypt, following its true independence in 1952, his name is Gamal Abdel Nasser, or Nasser for short, who is a major figure in anti-imperial politics in the 20th century. He's really essential to know. He comes to power and eventually decides in 1956, 26 July, this is a day that is remembered even until now among Egyptians, he decides to nationalize the Suez Canal. Nationalize. This means he is going to make the canal operations part of the Egyptian state rather than something that's run by the former colonial powers who still had an economic interest in the canal and had control over it. So Nasser nationalizes the canal in July, and this upsets a number of state actors across the globe, because the economic interest that these colonial powers had is now in jeopardy. There's a real question for Western powers, and then also Israel, which is an adversary of Egypt at this moment, about what's going to happen to global shipping and the ability of Israel specifically to use the canal, which had been a possibility previous to the nationalization of the canal, but was no longer possible. And this led Israel into a situation which it saw its only way out was a military confrontation with Egypt, with the backing of European powers, France and the United Kingdom, in order to reverse this situation and allow free passage of their ships through the canal, as had been the case previously. So in Arabic, this Suez crisis is called the tripartite aggression because you have three aggressors on the one side working against Egyptian national interests under Nasser on the other. At the same time, just to give us some broader historical context, we're looking at a Cold War period. So the struggle between the USSR and the Western powers is full speed ahead. There are major anxieties about what might lead to nuclear war. So people are very cautious when they are working on international politics at this time. And at this exact moment, towards the end of October in 1956, we have also going on the Hungarian Revolution, where there's been a rejection of Soviet influence in Hungary, and the Soviets are working very hard to control this uprising there. So tensions are high in the world at this moment. As the crisis progresses, with Israel, France, and Britain working against Nasser's nationalization of the canal, working to bring it back under their control, we have a mediating party enter into the conflict, and that is the United States. And also a little bit later on, the UN. We also see partnership between the United States and the USSR for a cessation of hostilities that's brokered through the United Nations. This brings a resolution to the crisis itself on the 7th of November, 1956, but the canal does remain closed all the way until April 1957. And I mentioned this last point about the United States getting involved here because this moment really marks, it's one of many markers, I suppose, of the true end of the British imperial project across the globe in a post-World War II setting where Europe had been destroyed. And it was only because of U.S. support through the Marshall Plan that Europe was able to rebuild itself. And this was happening late 40s and the 1950s. So what we really see here is the ascendance of the United States and, yes, the USSR to some extent, although the realities of the true power that the USSR had at that time have become clearer since the end of the communist project. Point being, here is the moment at which the United Kingdom is sort of shunted aside in global politics as the arbiter of what happens in international relations, and the United States comes in to really take that position in this post-World War II moment. Thank you.